MHTri introduced Leviathans to the series, a new class of monster capable of swimming and fighting underwater. Most of them could be found in the deserted island or flooded forest, but Agnaktor is special because he is entirely exclusive to the volcano. Also known as the fire Pike Wyvern, Agnaktor has a long body, 4 legs and a tail. He is black and red and has a huge fin that runs across his back, as well as a sharp beak shaped like a condor blade. As the volcano has no underwater segments, Agnaktor can only be fought on land, and is, in my opinion, the most interesting Leviathan in the game. Agnaktor has a very distinctive roar. He is pretty much exclusively found in the upper regions of the volcano, and his nest is directly within it. Agnaktor is capable of attacking in methods similar to other Leviathans in the game. He can swing his head and then his tail. He can hip check and charge across the arena. The similarities end there, as he also has unique ways of striking, including jabbing his beak down hard enough to split the ground. His beak is sharp and very tough in order for him to not just deal with the tough hides of various volcano dwellers, but also to pierce rocks. He can use his beak to dig into the ground and from there perform several different actions, including a fast digging rush and being able to move to and from cave ceilings. When he finishes the attack, he'll land on the ground with a massive tremor. He can also fire a heat laser, either while standing on the ground or by digging partially out of it, and while like this, he'll sweep around in a circle. Monster Hunter World introduced the concept of locale apexes, where you'll have a monster that is more or less the king of their respective region. Agnaktor is arguably that for MHTri's Volcano, easily the strongest monster there, and one of the more challenging fights in the game. This is due to his size, speed, and the higher attack variety and dexterity compared to other Leviathans. For instance, all of them can do this rush, where they rapidly move towards you, but Agnaktor actually adjusts his aim towards the direction you're running in, which is honestly really clever. Agnaktor's difficulty is further emphasized by his special mechanic. His body has protrusions that allow it to store magma, which covers him and hardens when cooled down, allowing it to serve as armor that your weapons bounce off of. However, the magma reheats when Agnaktor comes into contact with lava, softening it and making it glow, allowing you to inflict damage. So naturally, this means that the best time to strike Agnaktor is when he freshly emerges from underground or the lava rivers. Wait too long and you'll miss your chance. This gives the fight a really unique placing, where you have to quickly be aggressive to damage him with the soft magma, and sort of back off when it hardens up. What's cool is that by design, most of Agnaktor's unique attacks have him make contact with lava or dig underground, so he never stays hardened long enough to become tiresome. What's even better is that there are ways around the armor too. Striking the hardened magma a couple of times with a fire weapon will have it heat up on its own, indicated by Agnaktor shaking, and with enough damage, the armor will break off entirely, after which there's no need to be concerned with it. Agnaktor is iconic for making a very distinctive clack 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 noise, which he uses to scare away potential rivals. He has a small juvenile counterpart known as Uruktors. These are small and pink and can often be found in groups. They also make the clack 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 noises with their beaks and are capable of digging, but they have no magma armor and lack many of Agnaktor's advanced abilities. Their only ways of attacking are by digging up from the ground or by spitting lava. Both Agnaktor and Uruktors are exclusive to the Volcano in the 3rd generation. When you fight Agnaktor in these games, the battle music is that of the Volcano, and doesn't exclusively belong to him. That being said, it is like a lot of area themes in the series where it's clearly associated with the monster, despite not being exclusive to them. In this case, the biggest giveaway is that you can kind of hear a clack clack clacking in the music. Portable 3rd introduced the Glacial Agnaktor, who later returned for 3 Ultimates. Glacial is a grey-blue colour and is coated with ice. In both of his games he can be found exclusively in the 3rd generation's Tundra. He is physically smaller than a standard Agnaktor, likely because the Tundra's areas are less spacious, but otherwise he has no physical differences. Glacial Agnaktor is in many ways more difficult than a standard Agnaktor. His hip check is different in that he sort of doubles it up, and goes further with it. But the biggest change Glacial makes to the fight is that his armor mechanic is totally flipped. Agnaktor's armor would be hardened by default, but would heat up when he came into contact with lava, but Glacial's ice armor is soft by default, and freezes when he digs underground through the ice. This reverses the dynamic, as it means you can't attack Glacial when he's freshly emerged like you would with Agnaktor. You have to wait for the armor to melt first, giving you a very narrow opportunity to attack. That being said, once again fire weapons have the unique trait of being able to soften the armor up, and you can break the ice completely to not have to deal with the mechanic at all. Agnaktor's armor is really cool. It's essentially knight armor, but red and styled with Agnaktor fins. The male low-rank Blade Master set has plates on the shoulders and helmet that resemble the fins, while the female set has some on the back. Her face, upper arms, and legs are exposed. The gunner sets for both genders show the face and are a bit more exposed overall. Their helmets have a sideways fin on top, and they each have a shield that sort of resembles Agnaktor's beak. The G-rank sets look really cool. They're basically more extreme versions of the low and high rank sets. They're once again silver, red, and decorated with plates resembling Agnaktor fins, but there's now dark blue portions layered on top that resemble Agnaktor's hardened magma. The gunner armor has this too, although this time, the helmets have horns and the shields differ between gender. The female armor has the fins on the side of the waist resembling a dress, which looks nice. Glacial Agnaktor's armor, for high and G rank respectively, has more of a light blue and grey theme going on, and also incorporates the dark colours. The blue is shiny and somewhat translucent, as it's supposed to resemble ice. In terms of the purpose of these armours, the primary Agnaktor set is generally known to have skills that are good for lancing. Guard, guard up, Constitution, which naturally helps with shielding from attacks. Perhaps this is because Agnaktor likes to jab with his beak like a lance. In some games, the sets are known to have sharpness based skills, such as Razor Sharp or Mind's Eye. The latter stops weapon bouncing, which is naturally very helpful for getting around the armour mechanic. In addition to this, the Armour in 3 Ultimate had a skill called Flame Aura. Monster Hunter Tri had dark areas that needed to be illuminated with torches in order to see. The torches had the side effect of keeping small monsters away, making it so they wouldn't attack you, and despite dark areas being cut for future games, the torch remained. Flame Aura basically made it so small monsters treated you as if you were holding a torch, therefore keeping them away from you. Both the torch and Flame Aura were cut from the series in Generations. The descriptions talk about the armour being fire resistant and being able to withstand magma and hot lava. The G-rank sets go further. The male is set to make lava founts feel like a warm bath. The greaves is perfect for taking a stroll through the volcano, not to mention the gunner coats being able to withstand a firestorm. Then there's a glacial armour, associated with the cold and the tundra locale. The G-rank set is set to protect from blizzards, making them feel like spring, and being able to easily withstand the cold. Armour and weapon descriptions are generally something you're not supposed to take super seriously, for reasons we'll eventually get into later in the series, but you can sort of see what they're getting at here. The Agnaktor armour makes heat, fire, and lava feel like nothing to you. It describes Agnaktor as the Fire King, but by wearing his armour, that title is passed down to you. Same with Glacial. The cold blizzards mean nothing when wearing this armour, and you become the new Tundra King while wearing it. Like all monsters, Agnaktor naturally has craftable weapons. All of them are orange, red, and a shade of brown, and are styled similarly to the fins on the armour, where they have serrated edges. I mentioned earlier that Agnaktor's beak resembles a condor sword. This type of blade is also known as an Ikakalaka, and it was primarily used in the 19th century by Mongo people in what is today known as the Democratic Republic of Congo. The sword looks really cool, and you see it's depicted a lot in various settings. Unfortunately, Agnaktor's weapons are largely not condors, but the lance kind of is, and the axe mode of the switch axe also resembles his beak. You can even see teeth. What's really cool is that some of the weapons have upgraded forms that, like the G-rank armors, have dark portions resembling hardened magma, in particular the gun lance, dual swords, and heavy bowgun. The weapon names have denotations with fire, like the longsword is called the Dancing Flames, and then the Dancing Hellfire. The dual blades are called the Flame Storm, we have the Spiral Heat, the Flamethrower, and the Fire and Flame Tempests. However, some of the weapons, mostly with upgrades, also directly mention Agnaktor's name, the Agnaktion, Agnaktor Fire Lance, Agnamagma, not to mention the heavy bowgun, Agnaboom. Glacial Agnaktor's weapons on the other hand have more to do with not just snow, but water too. You have the Snow Siren, Glacial Diva, but also the Spiral Water, the Water Thrower, the Liquid Storm, and of course Agna Aqua, Zeth Agnagun, and the Varunaknaktor. The dual blades are interesting. They're called Dichotomy and are upgraded to Elemenders. They're made with both Agnaktor and Glacial parts, and therefore inflict fire and ice damage. When upgraded, some of Glacial's weapons get an icier appearance too. When Agnaktor came back for Generations, he was given a craftable insect glaive, which did not exist in the games he came from. Not just that, but you could also craft a sword and a shield, as well as a light bowgun from Urokta parts. These specific weapons eventually came back to Monster Hunter Rise. We also cannot forget the Agnaktor Palico armor, which looks like a red knight. The weapon is a lance that resembles Agnaktor's beak. Once again, you can even see teeth. Takamasa Yamada was responsible for designing Agnaktor. One of the things he emphasised was making sure his vertical silhouette looked very different from fellow Leviathan Lagiacrus, who he also designed. The beak was then twisted to look more like a drill. Agnaktor is called Agnaktor in Japanese, and his name is derived from both the Hindu god of fire, Agni, and Quetzalcoatl, the Aztec god of a great many things, including knowledge, arts, the sun, wind, and more. Glacial Agnaktor's localization process was once again detailed by the man responsible, Andrew Alfonso, who described it in some old blog posts which, once again, will be linked in the description for you all to read. Initially he and his team thought the Agnaktor subspecies was entirely related to ice, so they came up with names such as Frost, Cobalt, Ice, and of course Glacial. But then the 3 Ultimate staff told them that actually no, he used water attacks too, so the name needed to reflect that. Alfonso's team tried again, but ultimately they thought Glacial was just too good of a fit. It sounds cool to say, and is related to both ice and water. So they asked the 3 Ultimate staff again, who agreed to Glacial. So, most of this video has been focused on Agnaktor as he was in the 3rd generation of Monster Hunter, particularly 3 Ultimate. But it's worth talking about where Agnaktor has been since then, as he has somewhat of an interesting legacy. I said earlier that Agnaktor was probably the de facto apex of the Tri-Volcano locale, but 3 Ultimate hasn't become victim to the Wolf effect, as it features an FMV that depicts him going head to head with Brachydios. Agnaktor seems to have the upper hand for a while, only for Brachydios to punch him several times, and before he can fire his laser, the slime explodes, knocking him out as Brachydios delivers the killing blow. Since Brachydios also lives in the Tundra, I imagine Glacial Agnaktor falls victim to the same fate. After all Leviathans were absent from 4 Ultimate, most of them came back for generations, including Agnaktor. In this game we got to fight him in the 2nd generation Volcano and Volcanic Hollow. He's fine in these games, but it does make him Mr. Tri-Volcano. As of this video, that was his last appearance. In Monster Hunter World we got Levasioth, who is an older monster, but he was given a brand new to him but overall familiar mechanic. His body was armoured, but whenever he came into contact with lava, it would heat up and soften, allowing you to strike him. Yes, it's the same mechanic, and it also synergizes with the Slinger, as you can fire torch pods to reheat it too. However, it can't be permanently broken like with Agnaktor, and combined with Levasioth being kind of air in this game, it made for a worse experience. Lagaiacrus was intended for this game, and combined with Levasioth getting this new mechanic that he didn't previously have, I wonder if they also wanted Agnaktor in the game, but ultimately couldn't, because of the same issues that affected Lagaiacrus. Then we get to Monster Hunter Rise. Leviathans are back, we got some new ones and some old ones, no Agnaktor in sight. Oroctors are back though. This confused people. Why are Oroctors here but no Agnaktor? Especially if Leviathans function properly again. We have a nice volcano locale he could be in too. We later found out that the same issue that prevented Lagaiacrus in World was also present in Rise. So obviously Agnaktor had no chance in this game either. But honestly, unlike World, I kind of wonder if he was ever intended for Rise. He doesn't seem like a great fit for the lava caverns. Moving on to Sunbreak, we got a Leviathan, a subspecies in fact. Magma Almudron. This subspecies is notable for living in the lava caverns as opposed to the flooded forest. And he has a very special mechanic where hardened body parts glow and become softer when he submerges himself in lava. Hey, wait a minute! Magma Almudron got a substantial amount of hate when he was announced for the expansion. People generally aren't too big on Almudron to begin with, but now his subspecies is a cheap copy of Agnaktor. This is an outrage! Well, truth be told, Magmadron was a lot different to Agnaktor. The heat up mechanic was the only real similarity. Magma fought very differently and would manipulate lava offensively, which Agnaktor didn't really do, but I guess it hit a little too close to home for some people. I think the issue with Agnaktor and other Leviathans has been fixed in Monster Hunter Wilds. It seems like Balahara functions properly without issues, so I think the others will be fine too. As such, I wonder if we'll see Agnaktor in the next game. The Hunter's Choice poll for Agnaktor has him at 92nd place, right behind Plesioth but ahead of Gos Harag. Glacial Agnaktor is at 165th place, behind Viper Tobikadachi but ahead of Risen Kushala Deora. Agnaktor is a really good monster, and probably my favourite 3rd generation Leviathan. The others are fine, but aside from Global and Nibblesnaff, they're all fairly similar in terms of moveset. Royal Ludroth has his rolling attacks, and Lagaiacrus sets himself apart with his lightning, and both of them could swim underwater. Agnaktor can't, so what really makes him unique here is being in the volcano and using his beak to attack, his digging attacks, and of course, the armour mechanic. The armour is great, because it means he gets to control the pace of the fight and force you to be more aggressive. The moment he's out of the lava is when you strike, and when he hardens up, you kind of have to back off. And the thing is, a mechanic like this could easily become very annoying if done poorly, but they've made it so any possible contact with lava will reheat him. His beak attacks for example, and even just dashing off into the surrounding lava rivers. And of course, after enough time has passed, he'll just start digging and performing his rushing attacks, which I love by the way. You really have to watch your surroundings because he could attack from anywhere, including the cave ceilings if there are any. The coolest part about the armour is that you don't actually have to deal with it as long as you can break yourself fully. which very much rewards skill and means you can have more freedom when fighting him. The 3rd generation was really good at making part breaks matter during fights, and this is just another example. Another thing the 3rd generation did very well was subspecies. Prior to Portable 3rd, a lot of them weren't that different to the base versions. They were basically more extreme, but that was about it. That's a generalization, but it was only with Portable 3rd onwards where we started seeing elemental swaps and more advanced subspecies. And I think it was such a cool choice to reverse the armor mechanic for Glacial Agnaktor, because now you have to wait to strike back once he's out of the ice, and it changes the whole dynamic. You have to avoid his attacks and wait for the icy armor to melt. It's awesome. And of course, technically, you don't have to wait. Bringing fire weapons helps to heat up the armor of not just Glacial Agnaktor, but the regular one too. Bringing a fire weapon to a fire monster is generally a bad strategy, but it just kind of works here. Fighting Agnaktor in the 3rd generation in particular really highlights how strong those games are. Agnaktor was one of 18 monsters in Tri, and that's not really a lot, but it means they can put more time into the monsters. And the way Agnaktor in particular works with the map is so nice, like it was made for him. There's so many cave ceilings, he can reheat himself in numerous spots, and a relatively flat terrain works for both of us. The music fits really well too, and then you fight him in Generations and the vibe just isn't there. I did kind of want him back for Rise, but at the same time, I don't think the lava caverns really would have worked. First of all, a lot of it is somewhat submerged in water, but also the deep volcano portions are all quite narrow. I could not picture Agnaktor being able to move around to the same degree unless they shrunk him down, in which case he wouldn't really have the same impact. You need to have a big volcano with easily accessible lava, and I think he could have worked in the Elder's Recess for sure. So I would like Agnaktor to come back for Wilds or a future game. He's a good monster with a fun dynamic fight, a great visual design, a really cool subspecies, and some amazing armors and weapons. Thank you for watching this video. This is the 2nd episode of Monster Hunter Compendium, a new series where I discuss various monsters in depth, with the first episode being about the Seltas Queen. I published some information about the series on my channel page if you're curious. If you want to see more, remember to like and subscribe, and check out some of my other videos too.